And hello everyone, welcome back to another PHP tutorial. Alright, so before we get started, if you want to know what extensions I'll be using during this course, I'll be using this PHP server extension and this PHP IntelliSense. So that is what I'll be using for this tutorial. If you have the server installed, if you have an index.php, just right click PHP serve project and it should open up in your browser right here. Alright, gee whiz, that's bright. Wish I had a dark mode here. Alright, so this is the basic of a PHP tag. In fact, if your file only has PHP, you don't even need this closing tag. So if you've seen our previous tutorial where we install PHP, you already know that this is the tag we use to say PHP code is going in there. However, if you're only using PHP, you can just remove that ending tag. It's not really required then because the file in theory doesn't end. But I will keep mine there just because of old practice habits. Then of course we have echo, which basically puts something on the screen. So test. And let's just remove that flashbang. So I'm going to put some HTML here. There we go. I'm going to put this PHP in here. And I'm just going to say style. You don't have to worry about this. It's just so my eyes don't get burned every time I do something. And we can just say body. Background color can be this, and the color of the text can be that's $. We want hashtag. There we go. We do a refresh, and the text color isn't white. There we go. All right, so now the text color is white, and the background is a little bit darker. Just for those of you who just got flashbanged, sorry about that. All right, so here we then have our PHP. You don't have to worry about all the rest, this HTML stuff. We're not going to work with this until much later in the course. Just get comfortable with it filling up the screen. All right, so this is what we have. Let's go through the code. So we have our opening tag of PHP. All our PHP code will go in here. However, note you could have multiple of these, like this. It's not a sin to have multiple PHP tags in your code. So if you need more, put more in here. Just note PHP tags close when you do this. So if you were to do this, what's that? Go away. If you do this, you'll notice we get a red squiggly line here. That means that this isn't a great thing to do because you cannot use PHP within PHP because it's already in PHP. So in this case, just make sure that the coloring is correct. And as simple as that. If you were to go file, save, so make sure to save your file, and you refresh, you'll notice we have 3 tests. So that's from this, all of them are executed independently. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, what is echo? How does it work? What do we do with echo? Echo basically just puts text on the screen. So to see what it puts on the screen, we can actually, if you refresh, right click, developer tools, inspect, and we go to the body here, you'll notice we have this test here. That is what the PHP is adding to our website here. So if we were to go like this, test 2, you'll notice when we refresh, we have test and test 2, but they are not different. They are with each other here. And that's a little bit confusing at first because why when you use 2 echoes would they fall on the same line? And even in the text that is displayed, they are shown as one big text. The reason for that is this is just normal text. It is not HTML unless we specify. So we need to go BR like this. This means break line in HTML. So if we were to refresh, now it will break the line and move it to the next line because now we have a HTML tag between these 2 texts. Alternatively, you could have also gone and done this. I just did that to make it a little bit shorter, but this is perfectly valid as well. So you could use HTML code within your PHP code. So here we could go, this is, and this means make it bold, HTML code in, this means make it italic, PHP. Now if we were to refresh this, this is HTML code in PHP. If we take a look here, this is an HTML code in PHP. So you could use HTML code in PHP when you see the need. You don't have to worry that maybe something is going to go wrong here, but this will just parse the HTML for us. And you'll notice very later on in this tutorial, this here becomes incredibly useful, especially when working with things like loops. But we'll get back to that later on. Alright, so now that we have this, or now that we have basic knowledge of this, let's take a look at comments in PHP. Now, a comment is a piece of code that will not be read or displayed. So this is just for the developer, it's for you. So if I go here and I put 2 forward slashes, you'll notice it's green. That means it's a comment, meaning that it will not be read. So if I go, this is a comment, I save the code, I do a refresh, you won't see it here, you won't see it here, and that is because this comment is just for you. Nobody else can see it. In fact, if I were to do this, this will also be a comment, and comments don't get executed. So if I refresh, it's gone. Why is it gone? Because it's a comment now. Comments is a great way to hide code you don't want to remove from your code base, but you don't want it to run. And it's also a great way to leave yourself some notes. You can also put comments after things. So this after code, this is perfectly fine. This will still run. This won't run. So everything after the forward slash will not run. That also means that if you go, this is, and then put another comment in here, this will still be all a comment. So everything inside of this is considered a comment, even other comments. If you run this, you'll notice you didn't see it here, you didn't see any of it here. So that's a comment. It's basically for you. So if you're following along with this and you're making files, like noting what's happening, you can use comments in those files to say, okay, echo, put something on the screen. So you can put a comment there, so when you ever go back to it, you can go, oh, that's what echo does. And you can remind yourself with comments. You'll also notice that if you go to the course material, link in the description, and let's say you choose a random one, like let's say arrays. You take a look at the code. I will leave you comments, as you can see, to help explain to you what happens at each line. So this is one example of how comments can be incredibly useful. Because now if you ever get stuck and you want to go back to the learning material, you can be like, oh, okay, that's what it does. That's how I work with it. So this is something that you can find very useful. But this here is a single line comment, meaning it will only comment out one line. Anything before and after it, so echo test. Remember your semicolon, that's very important. And I don't think the brackets are too important. I think this will actually execute, yeah. So brackets aren't too important with echo, but I still recommend it. So remember your semicolon. So as you can notice, this comment only comments this line. Everything below and above it still runs. You do also have a multi-line comment. And these comments are formed with, as you can see, a forward slash, an asterisk, a forward slash. Everything between this is a comment, and it can span for multiple lines. So I can say this is echo a comment. And you'll notice that when I refresh, you didn't see it here, you didn't see it here. This comment spans multiple lines, as you can see. And that is what makes this so nice. So let's say you want to make all of this a comment. Now, none of that will execute. So if you have a chunk of code you don't want to execute for a moment, you can do that to comment out the chunk of code and make it not run. Or if you have something really big you want to describe and you don't want 50,000 lines of this, you can do this. However, when working with comments, take note. PHP comments are not the same as HTML comments. For example, if I were to go outside of this PHP tag and put a comment there, and let's take this one and put it here, you'll notice their coloring changed. And also when I do a refresh, they're also there. So this is a comment is there, and echo, this is a comment. So you'll notice they're still there. That is because they're not part of HTML. An HTML comment is, oh, that's terrible. This is an HTML comment. And it can span multiple lines as well, so we can put that in there. And we can do the same here. Just remember to close it. So if you are working with HTML and you need to comment something out, don't use PHP comments, use HTML comments. So now if you were to refresh this, you'll notice it's gone. It's no longer part of it. However, take note, PHP or HTML comments are displayed in the HTML source code, which everyone can access. The PHP code is a little bit more secure in terms of it's not just displayed to the client immediately. Meaning, if you have something sensitive you want to comment out in PHP, or that I just want to comment out, it's best to comment it out in PHP. Because if it's sensitive, like let's say, you should never ever do this, but let's just take a scenario where a beginner developer keeps their password in their code. You don't want to comment it out in the HTML, because anyone that looks at this, and more people look at this than you'd think, they would see, oh, you put your password here, I'm going to use that. But when it's in PHP, it's slightly more secure, but not completely secure. So just take that as note. It's slightly more secure, and it will take them a little bit longer before they can see that. PHP code isn't directly displayed to the client, and you'll see that very often in the future tutorials, where PHP is often a little bit obscured. Because it's a server-side language, it's first parsed and then it's sent to the client, meaning it removes some of the things before it goes to the client. And the client is, of course, the website. Meaning in here you can access databases and you can modify whatever you need, but you can't do that in regular HTML because it would be insecure. And that's the basics of PHP, echo, and comments. I hope this wasn't too complex, but I just wanted to get those out there to set a little bit of a standard of what we can do with PHP and not to make common mistakes that I've seen people make before. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all again in the next PHP tutorial.